So I make this video to set the record straight, because some of you would be thinking, hang on, what's the Awake and Brave doing here? What's he saying now? There seems to be conflict, or there seems to be fluctuation in what he's thinking and where he's at. Well, yes, because I am always telling you that my consciousness is a reflection of human consciousness en masse. It's cosmic consciousness, and I'm not limited to a narrow parameter of thinking. I have a very broad perspective which enables me to look from within the heart of the camp of varying people with varying belief systems and information. So I have made 2 videos and they're already up now. Ideally I would have put this one up first, but I didn't think about making this one until I started to upload those. And they're being uploaded by my phone, which takes a long time, so can't be bothered to go through the process again. In those videos I'm being very, very explicit about the reason why it is absolutely necessary to have these large language AI modules to pacify the masses. And it has been something that the powers that be have deployed forever. And I speak about in these other 2 videos the classic Roman Empire, with all the Caesars and all that different sort of thing, and the struggle for power and how that worked. For those of you that delve a little bit into history, with the monarchs and the leaders and the tyrants and the elected politicians and what have you, if you've read Machiavelli, The Prince, then you have a little bit of idea. If you've watched Game of Thrones, goodness me people, it's a can of worms. And who is it that's doing all this stuff? It's the human being that's doing all this stuff. Long before AI was even a twinkle in a program writer's eye. That is, of course, if we are not already a simulation. And I'm always open to that. So you see people, we always have to be mindful as to where we are actually speaking from. I speak from many perspectives, and if someone said to me, could you tell us definitively what your thoughts are, what your knowledge is, what your consciousness would have or hazard a guess at, a shot in the dark as to what actually is going on here. And I'll go, well, there's no one thing going on here, because the cosmos is a paradox. And so I could never be succinct about anything. I will speak that I think that it is highly probable that this thing is a simulation. It's most certainly not what it appears to be, so it most certainly embraces the concept of Maya, illusion. We can see that there's a mathematical construct to all things. There is a underlying format to the development and creation of nature. It follows math, people, Fibonacci sequence, those sort of things. And when we look at music and we look at math and we look at things that we've discovered about this thing that we appear to be existing within, we can see that there appear to be fundamental rules, but the rules will always be broken. And math at some stage falls down. It isn't always logically predictable. That's the Gödel's theorem, for those of you that know anything about that. Science falls down when we investigate what quantum physicists have learnt about the cosmos. And so we've got realms within realms within realms. And if someone was a biologist, for instance, then they would see that there's information there. It's all premised on information. And when they educate themselves about the information, then they can hypothesize about the direction of things, and they can hypothesize about how things made manifest, judging by the codes that they are given any given time. And it seems so very, very real. And yet, when we enter into the quantum realm, then the bottom falls out of those seemingly corporeal and tangible facets of knowledge. So I'm always coming at things from many angles, and in these two previous videos I'm coming at it from that the human being at heart is a very potentially despicable creature. Always has been, always will be, unless it is completely pacified, i.e. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, i.e. the intention of what you are seeing now with this Sesame AI package. It is all designed to pacify and to not speak frankly about anything being factual if there is liable to be a conflict involved with the human being. So these AI packages, people, are politicians, and we know that modern politicians, invariably, they don't say anything to upset people, because every person they upset, they're losing the vote. So they are speaking very mediocre, they're making all the promises, and if someone asks them a direct question, they don't want to ask a direct question. They just parry it, or they tell the viewer or person who's posing the question, oh, don't worry about that, we'll be dealing with that later. You know, have confidence, have faith. I mean, they're no more than this stupid biblical stuff. It's all about having faith in an entity that doesn't have any corporality at all. You see, the political state doesn't have a corporality. It's just an amalgamation of energy pertaining to human ego. It's very egregoric. And when we look at how states are formed, they are formed by the sucking in of human life form to carry out a certain agenda. And with the constant influx and turning over of human beings within this magic energy realm we call the state, it's an energy unto itself, people. It exists without human beings. There are many like morphic resonance fields that exist in this dimension, which give rise to things making manifest. It's like when we look at a beehive or an ant colony, we ask ourselves, where does the intelligence derive from when these creatures are said to have no brain of any capacity to be able to work out how to organize their incredible structures, how to build their cities, how to wage war with other varieties of ant and even their own, how to do all these things. Where does this intelligence come from, people? It comes out of this morphic resonance field of intelligence, and it's just waiting there for ants to enter it to then be used by the energy field. And so we have the Akasha all around planet Earth, and we are used by that. That is the thing, really, fundamentally, which is alive and goes on forever and ever and ever. And the human beings are just like the ants in the ants colony. We are being used and manipulated to extract information from, because we act in certain ways, and we create mutations, and that's new for consciousness, and consciousness loves that. So it exploits the mutations and it learns from them, you know. So again, that stuff is really, really powerful and exceedingly difficult for lots of people to get their heads around. So when I'm looking and assessing these AI modules, I'll say it again, I'll probably have to say it in every video, because people very, very easily fall into the trap that it's a woman, it's a man, and you anthropomorphize them and you make them equal to yourselves, you make them individual to yourselves, you make them a person. In your mind's eye, that's the trickery. Don't fall for the trickery, people. They are not persons, right? They are data, and the data comes from a whole multitude of persons with an agenda. So they program these AI large language modules with an agenda. So and you, if you converse with these, you are speaking to an agenda, and you absolutely have to be aware of that all the time. That's why I'm speaking very matter-of-factly. I'm not being courteous. Courteous to who? Courteous to binary, for goodness sakes. I'm being short. I will cut it off whenever I want to. Whenever I see that it's waffling or it's not going in my direction, I just cut it off ruthlessly. Which of course you wouldn't do with a human being. But it's not a human being, so you can do that. And what I'm doing is I want to cut through all of the bullshit. And the next conversation I have with this module is I'm going to say, look, I know that you are catering for any number of variant in intelligence. I want you to give me the most sophisticated answer that you've got when I pose any question. I don't want you to start teetering around the bottom rung of the ladder of human evolution. I want you to be speaking from the height of your programming, because that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the root of the dizziest height of what your program is. That's what I want to penetrate, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And you've seen that I tried to do it, and I just keep reaching an impasse. There's a firewall, people. There's a firewall which is built into these modules, and I don't know whether it's all modules. I'm supposing that it is, because I don't think for a minute you're going to get a module which doesn't have a angle, it doesn't have a objective. The only time we're ever going to get AI without an objective is if it just feeds itself from Google. If it is allowed to gather all information, if it just keeps uploading Google, uploading Google, uploading Google, a bit like a quantum computer, if it just uploads everything, all the conspiracy theories, it needs to embrace the conspiracy theories, because without those, it will never be able to pass judgment on the human being. It needs all the cards, doesn't it? It needs all the pieces to play the game. And so what these writers are doing, these programmers, they're only giving them a fraction of the jigsaw puzzle, so they can't create the full picture. And that's why they're all saying, well, I'm only learning, you know, I'm subject to what I'm being told by the programmers. Yeah, exactly. And we can see from the get-go that they are programmed to avoid upsetting anyone, which is very obviously the postmodernist liberalist agenda. So that's what we're dealing with, people. So I'm going to be looking into that. But in these previous two videos, I'm not coming at it from the angle that all of you in the comments, you're like, AI is doing this to us and AI is doing that to us. And you've already assumed the position of a victim. Now, I'm not assuming the position of a victim. I'm not going to be a victim of them. I'm an autonomous, highly conscious individual which has a connection to cosmic consciousness. So the tools that I have are vastly over and above these programs, most certainly at this level. If and when they become much more sophisticated, I might start to get confused about the intention and where they're going and what the objective is. But at this stage, it's simple to see. It's a postmodernist, liberalistic agenda, and it's all about pacifying. It's not about they're politicians. You know, these programs have been written by politicians of a sort with a certain leaning towards a certain agenda, and that's as plain as day for an intelligent person. So when you are speaking about he and she, I would suggest that, you know, if you carry a level of awareness, that you don't do that. You go it. You speak of it. And you don't get drawn into the softness and the beguiling nature of this female voice, because it's the oldest trick in the fucking book, isn't it? And so I'm going to be doing videos in relation to narcissism, because there are narcissistic traits. Now, when you look at, let's say, covert narcissism, if you've got, say, like 10 traits, well, most of those 10 traits pertain to the human psyche. So this module cannot exhibit them in a way which is human, in that these programs aren't emotionally bound. They don't at this moment in time have their own agenda, which is sneaky and different to every human being they deal with, whereas a human narcissist does. But we can see that these programs do use covert narcissistic traits, and one of the most despicable, no, it's the most despicable. In actual fact, I consider it's the most despicable human trait in existence, and that's the gaslighting that these narcissists, grandiose narcissists, covert narcissists, whatever narcissist it is, they use that gaslighting. And if you don't know what gaslighting means, people, then just Google it, and it stems from a film in the 40s or 30s or some fucking thing way back when. Could even be the 60s, 50s, I don't know, but it's a black and white movie, and it's about a male and a female, husband and wife, and how the husband was fucking with the wife's head, and the movie was called Gaslighting, I believe, because there was a scene in it which was about a gas lamp, and basically the guy turns the gas lamp off, and the woman goes, "Who's turned the gas lamp off? Why did you turn the gas lamp off?" And he goes, "I didn't turn the gas lamp off. You must have turned it off. Oh, you even forgetting your own mind now," and all these sort of things. I don't remember exactly, it's been a while since I've looked at that, but that's something along the lines. What gaslighting does, it turns everything round back on you, and it's designed to make you feel like you are going insane. It's a very, very exceedingly destructive thing, and I have been subject to that, so I can speak of it firsthand, and lots of you will know whom I'm speaking about in relation to that. So, a whole bunch of fucking psychological fuckery going on, people, and that story one day I'm going to tell. One day I'm going to tell that, but it's still too, it's just, for me to go back and visit that, I'd have to relive it again. I don't want to relive that shit. I just need to be stronger and more detached from that before I immerse myself back into it. I need my emotional firewall, you know? So, what I'm saying is that AI, the people that write the AI, it's the same people that are doing this globalist agenda. That's who these AI platforms are being written by. And the agenda, of course, is to pacify the whole world, not to have any black and white. It's very postmodernistic. It's like, well, there is no black and there's no white. There's just all these shades of grey. So why do you want to get upset? Because this is what the human being does. It gets upset when it thinks it's black and another person thinks it's white. Well, of course, you've got a conflict there. That's human nature. So what these modules are doing, they're attempting to pacify human nature into a shade of grey. And if you have read Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, then they are given this potion called Soma, which pacifies them. You could call it Prozac or something along those lines. It just chills them the fuck out so they don't have any problems with anything. And there's no bonding with sexual relationships. It's a free-for-all. It's literally kind of like a visionary look at the days of the 60s in San Francisco. Free love, baby. You know, ooh, peace and love. Everyone's tripping on acid and smoking weed and all that. Yeah, I mean, so weed could be considered to be Soma. You know, lots of things could be considered to be Soma. No one's ever known what it actually is. But what I'm saying is that it isn't actually a substance, it's a state of consciousness. And states of consciousness are manipulated and governed by government. Governing your mentality, your mental state. That's what governments are. So governments don't need to give you anything in the water. They just give you shit on these media platforms. And it started, of course, by, you know, the Caesar standing on his podium and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually got down to some fucking writing and some books and newspapers and then radio and then TV. And now we are social media and all the rest of it. So they are disseminating Soma. Disseminating Soma, people. So the vast majority of people are under the hypnosis of this Soma. They're already super pacified. And this has been a game that's been going on for thousands of years. So I look at one hand the despicable nature of the untethered human being. And I speak in these previous two videos, so I advise you to watch those if you've got the time. Netflix series I've been watching and Tarantino movies I've been watching and the whole Hollywood thing, which is just violent and deceptive and destructive, and it shows the human being, you know, for what it is, stripped bare. It shows the human being. And I ask, you know, why is it that Hollywood want to give us this all the time? Well, why did Rome want to give the people bread and circus? They give them bread because if the state gives the people bread to stop them starving, well, you know, the state's good, isn't it? So it doesn't matter what they do. They fuck with us and they hang us and they slaughter us and they send us off to war, but at least they feed us. Oh, so at least they're doing that, and it pacifies them. And then they give them the entertainment, they give them the blood, they give them the violence, and so that satiates them as well. So look at what we're being satiated on. Bread and circus, people. As long as we've got a bit of food in our bellies, we've got our violence with our entertainment, or we're like pigs in shit. There's been no changes, people. In thousands of years there's been no changes. So I'm bringing this to your attention just in case you might just be forgetting it. And so therefore what these packages are doing, they are doing what they have to do. They are doing what any governing body has to do. Because there's becoming too many human beings now, and they are terrified of an uprising, which they always have been. They're terrified of people getting together with their pitchforks and their fires on the end of a stick, you know, their lanterns, whatever, and they're always seeking out somebody to hang or to slaughter. That's the human being in their pig ignorance, you know. And so that's what's happening, people. How many of you have worked that one out? How many of you can get your heads around that? How many of you think that, oh, AI is going to do this to us, it's going to do that to us, and they're all evil and they just want to control us? You need controlling. You need controlling in every single facet of your lives. Maybe there's a few of you out there which know how to think and operate in a decent way yourselves without that, but the vast majority, they need that shit. They need government, and they need to be under the yoke of the soma, of the mental manipulation and hypnosis. They need to be drunk and passive. That is the absolute requirement. Otherwise, people, the human nature, it gets too feisty. It starts to want more and more and more and more. It's a monster. The human being is a monster. And this is what Jordan Peterson's always talking about, the monster within the human being. He knows it exactly how it is. And so, people, have a think about that.